There we go. Beautiful. Then we get in the wheels. We're actually flying, everyone. Oh my god. The first plane is not an instant failure thus far, which is great. Alright everybody, hello and welcome back to another episode on Kerbal Space Program with me, Spacefish, and welcome back to the Kerbal Space Center then. So in the last episode we went in ahead and actually took care of a few side contracts after finally touching down on the moon, actually getting a ton of research data and money out of that. I thought, why not just take an episode or two just to go do a few side hustles before we then go and focus back on our main objectives. And we kind of sort of tried and very much failed to do that with a first test that we were supposed to carry out on a very cheap basis in the Kerbal atmosphere. That did not work out at all, as you may recall, and then we kind of headed on to instead go and build a bit of a space plane, because what we do have for a task is to actually, let me load this up, the task is to test a particular aircraft engine in the Kerbal atmosphere. Now I will actually have to find said engine, which is this one right here, the J20 basic jet engine, and we did already kind of clip this structure into the wings the last time, and it is kind of weird and all, but we are trying to get this to work after all. And we will have to find some sort of way of actually getting these engines placed somewhere, because the thing is that they don't really have a actual body to speak of. They're just like the back parts right here, and while I'm kind of sure that we probably have some sort of intake for them, like this one right here, we can not really assemble those anywhere outside of the actual frame, and well, we can't just stick them under the frame because that's not how the game likes us doing things, it appears. So yeah, given that that doesn't work, we kind of put these structural part thingies into the middle of the wings, and are now somewhat hoping that that's going to work out for us. No, on the other hand side, oh no, rescued, saved, whatever. On the other hand side, another issue that we're probably going to be having is that we do not really technically have any control surfaces on this aircraft as of this current point in time that will allow us to tilt the aircraft to the right and left. But then again, we have these sort of canards that we've got up front, and we do have these rear tail fins, so if we individually turn those, or at least those can, like, I think we should be able to roll the aircraft overall. We should have pitch and yaw as well. Like, I think in theory this should work in terms of aerodynamics of actually steering the plane. Another issue that we also had though was actually that the center of mass was in front of the center of lift. And I'm not quite sure which way around you actually wanted to have things on an airplane. I mean, in theory, I guess it is most ideal to have the center of mass and the center of lift kind of sort of more or less in one spot. Thinking of things though, would I want the center of lift more to be up front or more to be up the back? I think it's really kind of, given that we're rather close, it's kind of more dependent on how we want the airplane to aerodynamically behave. Now, if that was on the same spot, of course, that would be ideal because we wouldn't have to make much of any adjustments. If the center of lift is behind, that would mean we would have to constantly sort of pull up a bit on the airplane in order to go for level flight. And, well, vice versa, you know, if the center of lift was in front of the center of mass. Now the thing is, we can really not realistically get the center of lift in front or into the middle here, because we've already got the wings kind of as far up as we can, which, by the way, honestly I feel kind of looks absolutely ridiculous. Let me know what you think about that. But yeah, so kind of as far up as we can do, and I don't think we can really fix much of anything there. We'll probably even have to have like a back wheel here to keep that structure from impacting the ground when we try and take off, just because these wings are so far up front that if we would only have a nose gear and then some gears on the wings. That would absolutely not work. But let's get some intakes onto here then to actually, hopefully, you know, cool down the engines. I very much hope that that works that way, despite this being a rather weird construction. I'm rather sure also that we do not have structural alternatives currently. We can maybe double check just to make sure that we weren't going too fast last time. And this, I mean, this is certainly not intended for these small engines, and this is certainly also not intended for these, and this is also certainly not intended for these. And that's about everything that we have in terms of structural things, and I'm pretty confident that in aerodynamics we did not have any alternatives. That would be like a middle section to this, which would be awesome. You know, that's the one thing that I'm missing. I'm thinking there probably is some sort of middle section to put between the intake and the actual engine, but I'm also pretty sure that we do not have that researched yet. So we'll have to try and make it work, rather, like this. Let's see how it works. Now, in terms of landing gear, we also really don't have much of any options. We do have a steerable landing gear up front, which I'm kind of considering to have going on, but the thing is that we wouldn't be able to retract it. And I really don't care about the steering function all too much. We will have this landing gear up front, of course. Then we will just probably go and use these structural elements. Can I... Hello? Yes, we will just go ahead and use these structural elements for the wing-mounted landing gear. And then potentially, I mean, I would like to actually have a fixed landing gear back here. But this being steerable could make it weird, I guess. I suppose. Not 100% sure. Like, I like the idea of this thing being fixed, because, of course, you know, if we end up early retracting this landing gear while we are still sort of at a bit of an angle climbing away, we don't run into the risk of this tail suddenly slapping the ground because we retracted the landing gear a bit too early. If that makes any sense. Now, do I want to have this any further back, or is that kind of fine? Aerodynamically speaking, theoretically, it would be better if you have it further back, because of course, you know, that makes the airflow around this a bit easier. If in Kerbal Space Program that would actually have any effects, who really knows? But I think that's fine. Now, honestly speaking, I think that probably on the actual runway we wouldn't even need the back wheel if we are not scared of the tail slamming into the ground, because I mean the center of mass, it's really in a decent spot, I think. I wouldn't think that it would tilt over without this. Hopefully. I mean, we will see one way or another. Otherwise, we'll potentially move this out on the wings a bit further or something to get the landing gear further back. Hopefully that's not the case, though. And in that case, that should all be going fine. Now, let's go and rethink all this real quick in terms of if we have everything we need. Because it feels like pretty much a complete plane to me. Well, I mean, it looks weird, most certainly. I would not argue with that one. It should have all the control surfaces that we need, though. And I'm kind of slightly a bit worried about these canards being angled, but we'll see how that works out. I am slightly worried about the missing elevons on these things, which we could theoretically still add on if we really, really wanted to. And had like shorter versions of elements, which of course we don't, but you know, I suppose we could in theory still put them there if we had any clue how to turn those the way we want them to be turned, like that for example. I'm not sure about it. I mean, it's not like we add any dead weight to it, you know, they'll be usable and not obstructing anything. I think we may as well just add them on, and worst case it just gives us some better roll rate in the end. Let's save it like that. I am really not trusting myself that this will be a successful plane, and I'm really worried about Jeb's health out here, not gonna lie. And I'm also kind of worried about the cockpit door being obstructed by the wing, because I'm slightly worried right now that if anything happens, he won't be able to get out. Because, you know, technically there's like the possibility if anything goes wildly wrong for us to just eject and open the parachute, which the Kerbals now have, so that's awesome. Oh, I'm worried, but we'll try it like this, I suppose. We've apparently got an insane amount of Delta V in this plane, which is also certainly good to know, I guess. And I don't know. The one thing I'm currently honestly wondering about is if we actually need this many fuel tanks. But if we would get rid of this, the center of mass would be even further in front of the center of lift, I think, as the tail is this long. So we'll keep it like this. Let's go. Let's go to the launch, not launch pad. Let's go to the landing strip and actually see what happens. I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen. I'm kind of not too optimistic about what's going to happen, but we'll see. And we did not upgrade this yet whatsoever. So, you know, dirt patch is about everything we have for a landing strip, but it's totally fine for this small little plane that we have. And you can see that apparently this thing is actually a bit, yeah, far back in terms of center of mass, and well, we're tilted on the back landing wheel, which is not necessarily the worst thing in the world, I guess, because technically, do I have brakes? Yes. Oh, we've got brake lights, fancy. But you know, technically, this at least means that we've got a nice angle of attack for a start, so we don't even need to particularly angle up the plane and risk bumping this into them. Yeah, I guess it's going to be fine, one way or another. Also, these all seem to be turnable as well, which these are not turning the right direction, most certainly. Why they are turning exactly the opposite way to the others, I have got no clue. We can invert them, apparently. So, really? Okay, maybe the game just set them up wrongly. I think this is kind of good, right? Yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Okay, cool. So the steering is now properly set up, which is a good start. Other than that, let's maybe check like our surfaces and everything, our control surfaces. These apparently do not do anything whatsoever. At least not for pitch and yaw. Okay. That is only slightly worrying. Okay, the canards are doing something. That's about it though. So we are very limited in terms of pitch and yaw. These elephants are only really being... Wait, deploy. Is that basically using them as air brakes or... Huh. Okay. But yeah, so the issue being here that like these things are not like registered at all for the roll, which is weird. I mean the canards are. The rear surfaces are not. This all. Okay. Oh boy, this is gonna be interesting to see if that works. I'm really worried that we could lose Jeb here, which maybe we can just like cancel the launch and just try and get him out of here for a quick second to see if that at least works. EVA. Uh-oh. All hatches are obstructed, can't exit. So that's good news. Maybe we should at least put the wings a tad bit further back so you can get out if he needs to. Sort of worried about getting the center of lift too far to the back, to be honest, but I'm also sort of worried about not being able to bail him out in case anything goes wrong. So let's fix that. And then we will go on to the trials, at least, you know. Hopefully we will be able to get him out of there. So that then being the concept, which, I mean, really, well, it does bring the center of gravity a bit. It doesn't the craziest change in the world, I suppose. So we'll see how that works out for us. Center of thrust, well, being behind the center of mass, which, it's fine, I guess, I hope. We'll see about that. Let's save it like that then. And then we launch again. We will try that out once more regardless to get Jeb out of there. I'm not sure if he'll hold on, so potentially we'll have to just revert to launch, but after that we will go for an actual launch. So Jeb, would you please EVA? Thank you very much. That's good to see that he can actually get himself out of there. We'll stop the plane from rolling. We'll check our surfaces once more. Everything working about as intended except for these things. Then we will bring up our contract real quick here just to see what we actually have to do, which is this here. Test J20 Juno basic engine. Altitude 12,000 to 14,000 meters. So that's going to be quite the while up. But let's go and turn the SAS on. Do we need to actually hit launch to ignite the engines? I suppose we do. And then we go to full throttle and probably kill ourselves. Oh boy, this can only go wrong, can it? We're not sat on the back gear anymore, by the way, due to that wing shift, which is an interesting point, I suppose. We're going to try and bring this plane up ever so slightly and see if and when we can actually get some air. There we go. Beautiful. Then we get in the wheels. We're actually flying, everyone. Oh my god. The first plane is not an instant failure thus far, which is great. I'm happy about that. So we're going to go for a bit of a climbing angle. Now we will have to see how fast these engines can actually get us, but thus far we're really gaining speed, to be honest. I mean, we've got a 20-degree climbing angle currently, which is pretty decent, I guess, and we're still gaining speed, so I suppose we can go for a bit more. You know, my idea here being that we do, of course, also want to try... Uh-oh. This is an issue. Oh boy. Oh no. Okay. So, interesting observation, everyone. If I tell the airplane to roll to the right, it rolls to the left. If I tell the airplane to roll to the left, it rolls to the right. Yeah. That is, of course, absolutely ideal. Yeah, we'll have to learn to live with that. I'm absolutely not getting used to that right now. But we'll have to learn to live with it. I'm gonna just go and circle Kerbal Space Center for as long as I possibly can while climbing. All at the same time, of course. And then we will go to said altitude of 12,000 to 14,000 meters, and then we'll have to somewhat try to actually land this thing again, which is also going to be very interesting, because this whole but the whole pitch thing is actually really weird right now. You know, I mean, I've got the yaw and everything that works, but the roll is absolutely disturbing currently. So we'll see how that goes. I'm well, either going to place a cut or I'm going to speed this footage up for you, and then I'll meet you when we're a bit higher up, I guess. Alright everybody, hello then, and welcome back. You can sort of see that we're not quite at the altitude we had envisioned here, being like way higher than what we've achieved thus far. I am, well, as you can kind of see, fully trying to ascend, and I'm descending. So I would say that we very much have an issue, and well, that we should very much go back home. Now, for a start, let me actually go and tune that throttle down so we can just glide down for a minute and actually not go like super fast and rip apart or something. But yeah, so I spent absolute ages even just getting to this altitude, I have to say. You may have been able to tell, but this plane is absolutely annoying to fly with this weird inversion of the roll. So what I've kind of discovered is that, well, the roll that my rudder induces is actually way more accurate and reliable than the roll that my actual, well, roll winglets, thingies, canards induce. So, well, very weird that, but I've kind of just slowly learned how to fly this thing. The issue being that apparently, well, on the one hand side, we're lacking the lift to even get that far up, which I suppose is a major issue, because we don't, I think, have the parts to even generate that much more lift. On the other hand side, what we're definitely missing is the power, because 4,400 meters seems to be where these engines already have quite the fall-off, in terms of efficiency. I'm kind of sure that we probably also need more intakes or something to make them more efficient, but one way or another, we will have to rework this thing, and it's not going to be as easy of a ride as I was kind of hoping it was going to be. Potentially we will even need more engines, and I don't even know where to put them. Maybe just get like another 2 of these cages going or something. We'll probably get rid of these elements because they don't do what we wanted them to do anyways, but one way or another, I think this is going to be a pretty long and hard voyage still to actually get this underway, which I really didn't expect. I hope you all aren't too disappointed of me. I wasn't really prepared for the engines not even being able to get up there that easily. And this speed, honestly, is kind of worrying too. I mean, like 210 meters a second, what's the game expecting of me? We'll need so much engine power to get all the way up there, so, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how we can even achieve that, or if that is even a realistic target. Maybe after these 2 episodes of experimentation, we should just go back to, well, doing what we're used to doing and taking on the main Mooner missions and just pause all this stuff for a while. I'm not quite sure, but one way or another, let's try and land this puppy for now. Hopefully not kill Jeb in the process. We will see how that part is going to go as well. But yeah, we'll try and actually hit the landing strip and not die. Kind of fast here. Oh boy. Oh god, this is scary. Oh god, no! Wait. Brakes! I do not know how we just managed to do that without absolutely murdering ourselves. Holy moly. Okay, so, well, that was kind of interesting. We're successfully back from our first ever flight with our first ever spaceplane. So I wouldn't call this zero progress. We certainly prove that this can overall at least work. But it is going to be a lot more work to actually get this to where we need to be. I'm really not sure how much this is really going to take in order for us to get there. Maybe we've just got to slap on like 4 or 5 of these engines, and even then I'm slightly worried that we may not be able to achieve what we want. The one thing I know is that we can certainly not generate more lift on this plane unless we slap a second set of wings on it, which would make it look utterly weird. I'm not sure if we do need more lift. Let me know your thoughts about this down below in the comments maybe. I'm also considering to just empty one of the fuel fuselages, because as you can see, I mean, we really didn't use that much fuel for this flight. Then again, if we need to go to 12,000 meters and we have like 4 times the engines going or something, maybe we actually will then end up needing that much fuel. So we will think about that. I think a good bit more to tinker on the space plane then. We'll see if we continue with this in the next episode or actually focus on the main tasks for the time being. But please let me know your thoughts on that too. Let me know what you think this space plane needs to actually make it up to that altitude with those engines, because I think that's going to be a big challenge. And, well, that's about it. So I hope you all enjoyed the episode, regardless of us actually not making us. Hopefully, next episode we'll be able to be a bit more successful. At least we made it back in one piece for today. If you enjoyed the episode, as usual, make sure to hit that like button down below. That does always help out the channel a ton. And if you're new around here and haven't done so just yet, also please consider subscribing right down below, as well as hitting that bell icon in order to stay up to date on all future upcoming episodes. But with all that out of the way then, as usual everyone, thank you so much for watching this episode on Kerbal Space Program, and I hope I'll catch you in the next one very, very soon. Ciao.